Welcome to Christmas at the Movies, Week 2. Christmas at the Movies, Week 2. And so for those of you that do not know, our Christmas movie today is Polar Express. And what we're doing is we are looking at some Hollywood Christmas modern classics, if you will. And we are finding some deeper meanings, some deeper truths that will help impact us for the cause of Jesus and in our relationships with Christ. And just before I dive off into preaching this sermon today about the Polar Express, I have a little family movie package here that includes the video, The Polar Express. And I just have a simple little question, and the first person who can answer this Polar Express trivia question can come and receive this amazing gift basket full of lots of goodies and whatnot. And here's the question. In the movie, The Polar Express, what particular item can the little boy, who's the main character of the story, what can he not hear? Somebody said it right down here on the front row. Which one of you said it? Someone right here. Come on, you got it. I think you really were first. Great job. Fabulous. It's all about the kid not being able to hear about the bells, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Are you in the Christmas spirit yet? I hope that you are by now. If not, good luck with all that. But our house is all festive, and there's Christmas music everywhere all the time. And we are certainly enjoying the Christmas movies and Christmas decorations and the Christmas food and whatnot. Very much looking forward to Christmas Eve here at NorthRock. My kids are looking forward to it, but I want you to know we're going to have a special evening, Christmas Eve here at NorthRock. 4 p.m., everybody say 4, and 5 p.m. 2 worship opportunities. They're 45-minute services, candlelight experience. We're going to sing some carols. We're going to tell the Christmas story. All the kids, everyone will be in here together. We will have nursery. Nursery will be provided. Again, that's through age 2, but everyone else will come in here together, and we're going to have a fun time and a great time. So make plans in your Christmas Eve chaos to come and have a little peace on earth and worship with us at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and bring someone with you. It's a great opportunity for you to bring someone with you, man. There are only so many times throughout the year that people will willingly come to church who don't really go to church. Christmas is one of those times. So we will present the gospel, and it'll be a great opportunity for you to bring someone to church and get them perhaps connected with Jesus and connected with eternity. So a lot of wonder and magic this time of year, lots of lights and lots of gifts, lots of sweets, lots of sugar, crazy. There's also a lot of stress. You deal with stress during the Christmas holidays. I don't know why that is, but there's a lot of stress during the Christmas holidays. There's a lot of parties to go to, a lot of purchasing to be made, decorating the yard and the house can be a stress. And there also, for a lot of people, tends to be some pain during the Christmas holidays. During the holidays, it tends to surface maybe some bad memories from something in your past, maybe something with your parents, something with your yesterdays. There can be a lot of pain. There can be a lot of doubt. And the truth is, we all wrestle with doubt from time to time, and some people wrestle with full-on skepticism. Is this really what Christmas is all about? Is this Christmas story really real? Was Jesus really born of a virgin? Did it really all go down that way? A lot of doubt. And I should know, because I'm a pretty skeptical guy myself. Pretty skeptical. Sometimes I'm actually secretly envious of people who believe in things so easily. Sometimes I actually make fun of people who believe in things. I make fun of them. I call them gullible. I tickle. I snicker at them. And I know I'm a bad pastor sometimes. But the truth is, I have trouble believing things just automatically. I don't just buy into strange things automatically. That's why I've never been good at multi-level marketing in these schemes. I'm a skeptic. That's why, although I love to watch, Finding Bigfoot. Have y'all ever seen that show where they track Bigfoot? It's like when I watch it, I know that the show was recorded, months and months ago. If they would have found Bigfoot, we would have heard about it by now. So I know they're not going to find Bigfoot. But I'm so intrigued. I kind of want them to find Bigfoot. I'm the same way with the UFOs and stuff. There's so many strange things out there. I want to believe, but I'm just a skeptic. I'm just a skeptic. And in the Gospel of Mark, in the New Testament of the Bible, Mark is the second book of the New Testament, and it's a biography of the life of Christ according to a man named Mark. And Mark tells about a man, Mark's a follower of Jesus, and he tells about a time that a man whose son needed deliverance came to Jesus. This man showed up to Jesus. His boy was wrestling with some things in his life, evil spirits to be honest, and he needed deliverance. And in Mark chapter 9 and verse 23, Jesus said to this man, he said, if you can, all things are possible to him who believes. If you can, all things are possible to him who believes. He said, if you can just believe, if you can believe that I can bring deliverance, if you will just believe, man, the sky is the limit. The very next verse, the man says this back to Jesus. Immediately the boy's father cried out and said, I do believe. And I think this is where so many of us live, and probably all of us at some point in our lives. I do believe, but help me with my unbelief. There's this internal tug of war in our hearts. Oh, I believe. I want to believe. It's like I want them to find Bigfoot, but I just don't think they are. I want to believe, Jesus, that you can heal, that you can do this, but I'm just not certain you can. It's not always easy to believe. And believing in people and believing in your future and believing in yourself, that's one thing. But believing in God and that God can and will and wants to bless you, and he can bless you if he wants to, that's a whole different thing. And the truth is, if you're here this morning, if you're in this room this morning, I would venture to guess that you're at least willing to consider the fact that there's a powerful God, a caring God who is looking out for us. But it's not always easy to believe. So in this movie, The Polar Express, and how many of you have seen the movie The Polar Express? If you have children, you've seen it like 27 or 28 times, and you're destined to see it about 43 times before Christmas gets here this year. But in the story, there's a little boy named Billy who started to doubt the existence of Santa Claus. And there's a mysterious train that pulls up outside of his house on Christmas Eve. And Billy is invited to get on board. Billy climbs on board the Polar Express, but he's still not sure he's completely ready to believe. Check out this next clip. So the hobo on top of the train asks the little boy, what exactly is your persuasion? You know, on the big man. What is your persuasion? It's kind of funny in 2014 that Santa Claus isn't enough anymore for kids to believe, in Santa Claus. There's also this little elf that roams around the house at night that sits on various mantles and shows up all over the house doing all sorts of things. I'm not even sure what the elf is all about. Maybe he's there to watch the child to make sure the child's doing good and report back to Santa. But I'm glad that Elfie really had not come into existence whenever our children were younger, or that would have created this whole other thing that we had to deal with that would cause that much more stress and chaos. But it's not enough just to believe in Santa anymore. And whatever it is with your persuasion of Santa, and I do want to be careful here because I'm fairly certain that we lost a family a few years ago because I spoke disparagingly about old St. Nick's legitimacy from the stage in a humorous way, but someone was upset. I was like, that's why we have Kids Rock. But anywho, somebody say amen. Anyway, I will be careful nevertheless. But whatever it is, your persuasion. I'll tell you what, Buddy the elf, he really does believe in Santa. For those that know Buddy, we're going to talk about Buddy next week anyway. So you're going to want to be back here next week as well. But today, we're not really talking about believing in Santa Claus. At least I'm not. But we're talking about God. Talking about believing in God, and not just believing in general that he exists, but believing specifically. And here's what I mean by believing God specifically for your own life. Believing that I'm halfway through my senior year of college, graduation isn't too far away. I know I've got to get a job. I have a career that has to start. And although I believe in God in general, there may be a part of me that wonders if he'll really come through, help me find direction and find my career. Some of us may have a parent or a spouse or a kid who's sick. And do we believe in God in general? And we even believe that God heals, but do we believe God specifically for our own situation? Or maybe you have a friendship or a relationship that's falling apart. Or maybe there's a job situation where you just got laid off. And part of you is saying, I do want to believe. You're like, Billy, I want to believe, but I've just got I don't want to get conned or duped or taken for a ride. There's a letter in the New Testament of the Bible called Hebrews that takes some teachings and stories from the Old Testament and interprets them in the light of Jesus. And one particular chapter recounts all kinds of examples about people, men, women, young, old, normal people, rough people, odd people, humble people, people who are rough around the edges. And it begins to tell their story, but all of these people have one thing in common, according to the writer in Hebrews 11. It's that they believed in God. They believed in God. They didn't just believe in him in general, but they believed that he could and that he would do something in their lives, in their own. Because again, it's much easier, I should say, for us to believe God to help other people and in other people's lives. It's much more challenging for us to believe that God is willing and wants to bless us in our own lives. So there's a verse early in the chapter that sets it all up in Hebrews 11:6 and says this: it's impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. It's impossible to please God, the writer says, without faith. And if you don't want to come to God, then you got nothing to worry about. You don't have to believe anything. But if you want to come to God, then we have to believe, or we won't be able to see. The hobo said, seeing is believing, and most of us have lived our lives that way. But the truth is, we discover that even in this movie, and in the next clip we're going to see, that we need to believe sometimes. We need to believe before, when it comes to God, believe before we can really see and hear. Check out this next clip. So you can hear the frustration in Billy's voice as everybody's jumping around and saying, I see him. And he's like, I can't see him. I can't hear. Now the spot, when they brought the sleigh bells out to attach to the reindeer, they're making all these pretty noises. The little girl says, isn't that the most beautiful sound you've ever heard? And he couldn't hear the bells because he didn't believe. Maybe you felt that way before. It seems like everyone else is seeing and hearing God. Things are happening in their life and they feel like everything's on track and they have direction. And you sit there thinking, I can't see him. I can't hear him. And Billy's frustration has been all of our frustration at some point and some time. And it's just like we're in a relationship that's struggling and we can't see him. There's a financial crisis in our life and I can't find him. Looking for answers and I can't find the right path to take, discouraged and I can't seem to hear from God. And it's in those moments when God has to bring us to a place where he slows us down and he kind of stops time for us. And he does that in all sorts of different ways for many of us. And it might be in a church service just like this on a Sunday morning, December 14th of 2014, where God just kind of slows us down and causes us to stop and say, okay, I believe. Because while absolutely there's so many things in life that we We do need to see in order to believe because we're skeptics. When it comes to God, we have to believe Him. We have to believe in order to see. We have to believe in order to hear. We have to believe in order to really begin to experience what He has for our life. And when we start believing, when we say, I believe, and we start living that way in our life, it's amazing how we begin to see Him work in our lives and in our homes. In addition to believing in God, apparently the writer of Hebrews said, if you want to come to Him, you must not only need to believe in Him, but you need to believe that He rewards those who sincerely seek Him. That He rewards us when we seek Him. And I know that it might be somewhat of a letdown for you, maybe for everybody in this room, but the truth is we are all, every single one of us, we are motivated by reward. Truthfully, we don't do anything over the long haul. We don't do anything for a long period of time if we don't think ultimately it will be rewarding. That's kind of the way God designed us. I mean, I drink coffee in the morning. Now I like the way it tastes, but there was a time I didn't like the way it tastes. But I drink coffee in the morning so that I would wake up, so that I could get going. I drank a lot of coffee this morning because I was sleepy this morning when I got up. I drink it for the reward. We go to work. I mean, yes, you need to love your work, but ultimately we do it over the long haul for a reward. Many of you came to church this morning for a reward. Maybe you've been carrying some burdens or something that's been bothering you and you just kind of want to get it off of your back. That's good, because this is a great place to come to release some things. Maybe you came today because your wife made you come today, but at the end, you're still coming for a reward. I mean, happy wife, happy life, or maybe you're searching here this morning. Maybe you're wondering that if what you're searching for might be here, and you've come looking, thinking you might find the reward that you've been looking for. So the truth is, in our lives, the things that we do, the way that we live, actually reveals what we believe. How we live our life ongoing reveals what we actually believe about God. Because the way that we do things and the way that we seek Him and the way that we pursue Him means it shows what we believe about Him. Many of us who are followers of Christ, we read our Bible consistently. We're pursuing Him, we're seeking Him because we believe there's a reward in reading the Word of God, and there is. Many of us are connecting with others. We're praying for others. We're serving others. We're giving. We're giving in a Beyond Christmas offering and again at the end of service because we know that God will ultimately reward that. But others have stopped short of just believing that God exists. And maybe they do believe that God exists, but that's it. They've stopped short of pursuing Him any further, and they're not really seeking Him. Maybe you're here today and you've settled for a life that is currently lacking fulfillment and lacking hope and lacking direction. It may be because you're pursuing and seeking the wrong things. When, like the writer of Hebrews said, if you would just believe in God, believe, and then sincerely seek Him, He will reward us. And you will find exactly what you are looking for, exactly what you need in your life. You'll find hope. You'll find direction. You'll find fulfillment. When Jesus Christ came to this earth, when He was born of the Virgin Mary and He entered this world, hope came on the scene. Shepherds came to see. They had trouble really believing and understanding what those angels said to them, but they knew something supernatural had happened, so they came to see the baby. 3 wise men traveled for weeks and weeks and weeks to get to the baby Jesus because they had seen a star. They showed up bringing gifts because they believed. And everyone who came in contact with Jesus, everyone who came across this baby was changed for the good. For the good. And maybe you're here today and you're wrestling with direction and you've been pursuing the wrong things. The writer of Hebrews said, if you'll believe and you'll earnestly seek, he will reward you. Watch this closing clip and we're done. So you remember what Tom Hanks' character, who plays the conductor here, asked Billy at the very beginning, in the first clip and at the very beginning of the movie. He asked him a simple little question. He said, well, are you coming? The kid's sleeping and a train pulls up outside where there are no tracks. It doesn't make a lot of sense for this boy. I hope my kids would not just go hop on something like that. It pulled up outside and some strange man said, you coming? But Billy chose to get on the train, even though he didn't have it all figured out. He didn't really know exactly where it was going or how it all was going to work out, but he chose to take that step of faith and say, okay, I believe enough to get on board. And when he made that step, other things began to open up and he began to see other things. And he ultimately got to see Santa Claus and he ultimately got to hear those bells that he had not been able to hear before then. But it took that first step. And when he said, I believe, then things began to happen for him. So this little simple sermon here this morning is nothing more than a reminder that bad week that you had this week, the rough month you've had over the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's not bigger than the powerful, omnipotent, sovereign God who's looking out for you. But you need to believe that. You need to believe that. You say, but I'm not real sure. You don't have to be sure about everything. We're all like the man that Jesus spoke to who said, I believe, God, but help me with my unbelief. We're all a little bit like that internal wrestling match. But if you'll choose to just get on board with him. I got a diagnosis and it wasn't good. It even had the dreaded C word attached to the diagnosis. I'm not sure what we're going to do. Just believe. Just believe.